what it is. I still feel kind of bad for Haramasa mains, man, but let's not pretend like we're not hype about this. So yeah. Silver Soldier Anby pre-farm guide. As always, guys, we try to keep our pre-farm videos as simple as possible. But in case you don't know where to pre-farm some of the materials that we're going to talk about here today, then refer to my Bernice video. The link is in the description. It gives a very thorough explanation of where to farm anything in case you're a new player. A few disclaimers. All the calculations that we make here are based off a 320 daily stamina usage and crafting or dismantling surplus materials into the rank that you actually need. Lastly, all the info that I use here is from Hakush, the website zzz.hakush.in. Anyone can look it up, and the source is probably just from data mining the beta servers. In that light, always take the information with a grain of salt, especially the boss materials. Beta info is subject to change at any time. However, fortunately, as far as material goes, the website was never a problem in our pre-farms. But now we're going to go through every single thing you need to completely max out our favorite burger eater on day one, with the usual hamster cage pass caveat. Leveling. To level your Anby from 1 to 60, you're going to need 300 senior investigator logs, or the equivalent of 900k XP. Farm those in the HIA takes you about 4 to 5 days. For Ascensions, you're going to need a total of 800k Denny's, 4 basic attack certification seals, 32 advanced attack certification seals, and 30 pioneer certification seals. Also farm those in the HIA, should take you about 2 days for the Denny's, and an additional 2 days for the seals, remembering to craft and dismantle. To help newer players out, if you guys need anything in between the levels, here are the level caps on the screen right now. If you're also set on going for a double engine, which is something I think you should consider at this time, the weapon version of seals or the components, the amount is the exact same, but it takes you a little less time to farm, like a day and a half, give or take. You'll need about 200 W engine energy modules, which is their XP materials, or the equivalent in 600k WXP. That takes about 3 days of farming on average. Last thing is an additional 400k Denny's, which takes you like a day and a bit more. Also on the screen right now are any intermediate values to level up your double engine. Now onto agent skills. And believe you me, this is the biggest time sink that you get, especially if you want to go all the way to level 12 with everything. Besides, you know, the insane time investment that you need to reroll on substats. To fully level up all 5 basic ancient talents, you're going to need 2,500k Denny's, 25 basic shock chips, 75 advanced shock chips, and a whopping 250 specialized shock chips. And those dreaded 5 hamster cage passes. The Denny's here take you an additional 7 days to farm, and the chips about 10 days on average. Now for any first time maxers, if you want to get those to level 12, every single one of those, then it's going to take you an additional 5 hamster cage passes. And I know usually you don't need to do that with any character, but we're about devotion for the waifu here, so I'm just going to tell you how to do it. These passes need to be collected with a lot of time and patience, and are a huge gatekeep into just keeping you from maxing your character out, which that's a problem in itself, but I'll leave it to another time. You're gonna get 2 of these if you pay for the battle pass, and only 1 if you choose not to. Usually we also get an in-game event every major patch or 6 weeks that grants you one of these. The final place where you can get one of these is the Scout Outpost vendor in Associates and Supplies, once per month, provided you've been doing your weeklies. Usually that's about 4 of them every 40-ish day period. So again, if you're a newer player, then this might be a problem. Might not just be able to get all of these even if you slave away. And if you can't, don't worry too much about it. Eventually you're just going to be able to. If you guys are looking for any other thresholds on her skills, here are the skills thresholds for levels. And since the hamster cage passes can be this huge pain in the butt, I'm going to put the threshold level 11 on screen right now too. Just please do not stress yourself too much if you can't get above this. There are also going to be events going on patch 1.6 that will help you out with farming some of the elemental chips that you might need. Just don't beat yourself over it. Also, make sure you do use the skill priority suggestion in game if that's the case. But if even so, you're just like me and you really want to do this out of devotion for Anby, maybe she's your favorite character, then good luck, man, you got this. Core passives. To get all the levels in the core passives, you're gonna need 405k Denny's, 60 normal boss materials, and 9 weekly boss materials. Again, Denny's here are gonna take you a little bit more than a day. Now, Anby is a special case in this regard. Since every other major patch, we usually get a new normal boss and a new weekly boss. This time, however, it seems that we're only getting a new normal boss, the ones that you farm in the HIA. We're not getting a new weekly. The new normal boss is going to drop this material that's on the screen right now, I have no idea what it's called. We're gonna need 60 of these, and since we're only gonna be able to farm these on day 1, then we're gonna have to do some special preparations stamina wise. Farming all of these takes you about 480 stamina, so for day 1 make sure you have either 480 overcapped stamina or a total of 8 batteries left over. You know, those items that you get from internet level rewards or from the battle pass rewards that give you 60 worth of energy or stamina. That way we can guarantee a power farm of all 60 boss items literally when the server goes online. Now again, apparently we're not getting a new weekly boss, which is really good for us pre-farmers, but please remember these are data mines and take it with a grain of salt, man. They could change this. Luckily, Hakush has never been wrong to me, so I always just pre-farm what's there, and I've never had a problem, up to today at least. But I want to make a full disclosure that Hoyoverse can choose to change this whenever the frick they want. And if they choose to do that, then I guess we're just screwed. But anyway, the weekly boss material that you want right now is this one, the Living Drive, dropped by the Unknown Corruption Complex weekly boss. You're going to need 9 of these, and thankfully they can be pre-farmed. But also remember that you can get this from the shop, the relic box. You just gotta pick before you open the box. And that's it. That's all the materials you need. I do want to talk a little bit about early builds here, but keep in mind, guys, I do mean early. We're probably going to get a new disk drive to go with Anby, and we have no idea what that does yet. Besides all of that, what we're going to, make our conjectures here is based off of just leaks that we got about her kit, which can also change before she's out. In that mind, shout out to the great people that do the leaks, that provide the translations. A big MVP here for all the info that we've used is Leifa. So I just want to give a huge shout out to them and how cool their content is and just providing us this information. The main TLDR thing to understand is that Anby is made to work with the additional attack mechanic that they're implementing in the game for the new characters coming out, and that crit damage is the stat that you want with her if you're going to play around this new mechanic. Besides the usual crit rate and attack percent. The characters that will take most advantage of that are Pokra and Trigger, because they can, use the additional attacks. The more crit damage that Anby has, the more of her own crit damage value will also transfer to her teammates while they're spamming their off-field additional attacks. And that's what we're going to discuss about here when talking about the early builds. Keep in mind, however, that Anby can absolutely work with a traditional stun plus support team setup with other characters. However, probably it's just not going to be optimal, since you're not going to be taking full advantage of her core passive. Anyway, the most important thing to note here about her build is that similarly to the bosses, every other major patch we get 2 new disk drive sets, and patch 1.6 is slated, or at least predicted to, be one of those. Just make sure you save as many resources as you can for Elfie in order to roll on those in the Bardic Needle during day 1. Also, if you got any surplus stamina or batteries, you're probably going to spend them on disk drives during that day 1. You can pre-farm the 2-piece, however, and really, in my opinion, you only have 2 choices here. Either Branch and Blade Song for the 16% crit damage, or 8% crit damage from the 2-piece Woodpecker Electro. For disc 6, I'll just go attack. Disc 5 is probably just lightning damage, and disc 4, then you're going to pick between your crit damage or crit rate. Probably crit damage for Anby. If you're playing Pokra or Trigger, or both, you might shove everything into crit damage because, according to the info that we have, there is no cap to how much crit damage can get transferred to those characters' additional attacks. At passive rank F, you will always transfer 30% of Anby's CD, no matter how high it is. At least, that's what we know for now. If you do choose to play her on a traditional team comp, then crit rate might be just as important. Keep a lookout on your subset rolls for crit rate. I do think those need to be good, because she has no buffs for crit rate, at least in her kit at all, except a 4%, 9%, and 14% in core skills A, C, and D, respectively. And I'm sorry guys, I really don't have the calcs for this, and it really depends also on what other characters you're using with her, but I personally would keep her crit rate at least above something like 60. In my experience, man, if you don't crit much, then it doesn't really matter how much crit damage you have. Right now, we don't know if just going all out on crit damage is going to be optimal, but it probably will. So it should at least be decent for using her on day 1. In the same vein, her best double engine is, of course, her signature, Sacrifice of Purity. Tentative translation here. Thank you, Leifa, again for this one. Her double engine gives you a straight up 48% crit damage value as a main stat, and on field, it gives you an additional 40% crit damage increase at R1, all the way up to 64% at R5, just for having it equipped, no questions asked. Every time an additional attack happens, you get a stack of benefit, which further increases your crit damage for 10% at R1, up to 16% at R5, for 30 seconds, and that stacks up to 3 times. This means that whenever you're playing her with Pokra or Trigger at R1, this double engine will give Anby 118% more crit damage for most of the time that she's on field just hitting the boss. And keep in mind that all that crit damage is also getting transferred to the damage done by all the additional attacks of the other characters in the team. So yeah, you want my take here, guys? I know it kind of sucks, but if you want your Anby to truly shine, you're gonna have to go for the double engine. It sucks, I know. I'll comment a little bit later about this, but if it frustrates you, I totally understand. Now, if you want other options of double engines to use, then Harumasa's Zanshin hub case should work because of the main crit damage stat that it provides you, and also, you know, the electrical attack bonus. Juryuan's Riot Suppressor Mic 6 also has a CD main stat, but honestly, maybe it's not going to be that optimal since, you know, you're never going to get to use the ether attack damage bonus. As far as the A ranks for the free-to-plays, problem with those is that currently none of them offer crit damage as a base stat. What we can work with right now are the usual Mercado Desire or Cannon Rotor for crit rate, or Starlight Engine and Gilded Blossom for attack percent. All of those should be other decent options depending on what you prefer. I would stick to the crit ones, you know, personally. And hey, I would love to be wrong about this, but honestly, I don't think I need calcs to tell you how much better Anby's signature is going to be above all of these, especially for the additional attack team. As I've talked before, maybe putting her on a more traditional team, something like Tingyi, Nicole, or Rina, Lucy, maybe having a crit rate main stat and building her the best way that you can, probably still going to work decently since we're not really focusing on the additional attack aspect. But then you're also sad because you're ignoring a huge part of her kit. The real problem here is that additional attacks are such a new and exclusive type of game mechanic or character trait that the game doesn't really have free-to-play options to aid that yet, and that's why it seems so unfriendly toward other, you know, double engine options. The silver lining here is that probably it's going to become much easier to build her later, especially if they decide to put some new A rank options of double engines in the game. Another hope I have for this patch is that usually every other patch we also get a new event with said free new A rank double engine. Let's hope that the new one might be good for Anby. It could be a really good solution. Now, I have a lot of thoughts about the additional attack mechanic, but that can be a thing for its own video, and I'll give you guys a rundown on that later. For now, let's focus on pre-farm. On that note, it is recap time, boys. For all you Borger waifu enjoyers, the complete set of materials you're gonna need will be 4,537,000 Dennies, 4 basic attack certification seals, 32 advanced attack certification seals, 30 pioneer certification seals, 300 senior investigator logs, or the equivalent, 4 basic attack components, 32 reinforced attack components, 30 specialized attack components, 200 double engine energy modules, or the equivalent, 25 basic shock chips, 75 advanced shock chips, 250 specialized shock chips, 5 hamster cage passes, 60 new normal boss materials that we have no idea what the name is, 9 living drives, 144 ether plating agents, or the equivalent, should be getting those just by farming disk drives, and as per usual, a lot of good luck on those substat rows. The amount of farming time that you will need to get all of these materials based off only a 320 daily stamina usage is about 38 to 42 days, which is expected since the whole game revolves around a 45-ish day period as far as battle passes and major patches go. Keep in mind, this is only if you start your farming with absolutely nothing. So realistically, that is almost never the case, and it should take you less time than that. The problem here is that I'm not adding the time that you need to get those 5 hamster cage passes, which can be more than 40 days, upwards to like 60 or something. Unfortunately here too, I'm not adding the time that you need to farm really good disk drives for your Anby to be optimal. That can take forever depending on your luck, and it's just, you guys know how I hate this. I'm not even gonna go on about it. However, don't stress too much about it. You know, ZZZ still isn't in the point that you need absolute perfect subsets to clear stuff. At least we're not at that point yet. Don't let this ruin your experience. Good luck on your pre-farm, guys. And if you want my take, then if you can get your Anby to like skill level 11, full passives, decent main stat disk drives, that is already a huge day one victory for your ambo, and then we can focus on fully optimizing her later. Remember, it's a casual gacha game, right? Let's not be too sweaty on this. And that's it. I hope I helped. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end. I really appreciate it. If you like these laid back guides of mine or any other content that I do, please give me a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. Feel free to comment down below anything you'd like to correct me on any discussion you want to have. I always read them, even though I take a little bit. But also, if you want to ask me something personally, then by all means, join my streams, man. I stream gacha games every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and a little bit of variety content on other days. But now, if you're going to be an absolute Anby main and you just want to know more about the additional attacks or what's going to go on when she comes out, then consider taking a look at this video of mine that's probably on the screen right now. It's about my current worries and predictions for what the additional attack meta can mean for the future of Zenless Zone Zero. And there we're going to see that it can be a really good thing or it can be a really scary thing. So if you're interested, give it a click. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, ktsu, signing out.